Philippine vessels were again blocked and fired at with a water cannon by China while on a resupply mission to the Ayungin Shoal. At least 34 Filipinos from Gaza have arrived in the country on Friday. 56 more have been allowed to exit the city. And another round of hefty oil price rollbacks are expected next week. Fast, focused, and fearless, here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your weekend. I'm Dani Laurel. We begin today's newscast with another Chinese Coast Guard vessel firing water cannons at a Philippine supply ship near Ayungin Shoal that was on Friday. This is the second such incident in 3 months. Now, according to the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea, the Chinese Coast Guard and Chinese Maritime Militia vessels, quote-unquote, harassed, blocked, and executed dangerous maneuvers against Philippine vessels on Friday. CCG Ship 5203 even trained water cannons at ML Kalayaan. The Filipino vessels were en route to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin for a resupply mission. Now, in a statement, the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea condemned once again China's latest unprovoked acts of coercion and dangerous maneuvers that has put the lives of Filipinos aboard the ships at risk. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry maintained that the Philippines' actions undermine their sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea, which has long been held to be within our exclusive economic zone. Their spokesperson, Wang Wenbin, said China has lodged solemn representations with the Philippine Embassy in response to the latest incident in the area.
The
Philippines has sent warships to illegally sit on the beach on Renai Reef and has also attempted to repair and reinforce it. It is a vain attempt to permanently encroach on Renai Reef. China urges the Philippines to immediately stop causing trouble and provocation at sea.
Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos says Timor-Leste President Jose Ramos Horta's visit to Manila is a very important start to deepening relationships between the Philippines and Timor-Leste. Marcos welcomed Ramos Horta to Malacanang on Friday. Now, during their bilateral meeting, the Philippines and Timor-Leste agreed several points that will benefit both countries. These include reconvening the policy consultations hosted by Timor-Leste, exploring the possibilities of direct flights between the two nations' capitals through air services agreement, forming a bilateral social security agreement, and strengthening educational cooperation. Marcos, meanwhile, said he and Ramos Horta had a productive and interesting discussion regarding international issues, most especially the West Philippine Sea. Marcos said that Ramos Horta supports Manila's adherence to the rule of law under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Following their meeting, Malacanang hosted a state banquet in honor of the visiting leader. Ramos Horta is expected to depart Manila later today. One farmers' group says that the farm gate price of palay or unhusked rice has reached 31 pesos per kilo. Group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG said that traders are buying palay at 29 to 31 pesos a kilo. With this, the group forecasts that the cost of rice per kilo could possibly reach 60 pesos by December. The retail price of well-milled rice currently ranges from 54 to 55 pesos per kilo. Meanwhile, prices of onions further escalated to 240 pesos per kilo despite its continued importations. Based on the latest monitoring, local red onions are sold at 240 pesos a kilo. Imported white onions are at 210 pesos. Imported red onions and local white onions are at 140 and 170 pesos respectively. The group calls on the government to address the price spikes and stop the unreasonable increase. And heads up motorists, there will be a significant rollback in petrol prices next week. The prices of diesel could drop by as much as 2 pesos and 70 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, gasoline prices could go down by up to 80 centavos per liter. And kerosene prices are expected to have a downward adjustment of up to 1 peso and 85 centavos per liter. Now, if realized, this would be the third consecutive week of rollbacks for kerosene and diesel and the second for gasoline. The Energy Department links the price drop to concerns about demand destruction arising from a decrease in demand and weak exports of the United States and China. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're back watching One News Now. I'm Dani Laurel. 34 Filipinos from Gaza have arrived in the country on Friday. The Pinoy repatriates that landed at the Naiya Terminal 3 were accompanied by Palestinian migrants, including their children. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Eddie De Vega, however, said that about 14 Filipinos opted not to cross to Egypt after encountering problems with their spouses' permits. But De Vega assured that an arrangement will be in place to secure their spouses' stay in the country.
May 14 nagdadalawang isip. Kasi yung asawa hindi nakapasa ng security clearance sa Egyptian side. I'm sure there'll be an arrangement. Kasi pwede naman yung balikbayan. Tratuang balikbayan. So we'll do what we can. Ang importante nakasama siya. I mean, hindi namin expected yun na papayagan.
Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos announced that at least 56 more Filipinos have exited Gaza. This brings the total number to 98 out of the 137 Pinoys who were originally in the war-torn city. Calls for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas continue, but it seems Israel is standing firm that they would only allow a brief humanitarian pause. Some 80,000 people have since fled northern Gaza as Israel's ground offensive advances. A United Nations report warned that the shock of the war will force hundreds of thousands of Palestinians into poverty. U.S. President Joe Biden personally sought a 3-day pause to the fighting to get the hostages out, but Biden said Israel only agreed to a 4-hour pause per day.
What are the chances of a Gaza ceasefire?
None. No possibility. You know, I've been asking for a pause for a lot more than 3 days. I've asked for even a longer pause for some of it.
Meanwhile, Israel is also denying a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, saying the flow of aid remains unhampered.
We know that the civil situation in the Gaza Strip is not an easy one. We know that there are a lot of challenges. We know that there are a lot of difficulties. But I can say that there is no humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. We are in war. We didn't pick up this war. Hamas chose to open this war.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Dani Laurel. We are One News.